We have a saying around here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no brains, no headache.
Well, hello, boys.
What's up?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Episode 210, No Brains, No Headache podcast. Happy to be here. Damn glad to do it. I'm Jordan Weichel, going to be your host today. As always, sitting next to my good time, longtime friend, Matt Cleary. I call him Ongo, fellow co-host, comedian, confidant. Ongo, how are we doing this week?
I had a really good week, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, you didn't see me for a whole week. Imagine that.
Which is pretty ironic that it was one of the better weeks I've had in a while.
Your levels of happiness are just through the roof when we go time without seeing each other.
Yeah, and I mean, going to a lake cabin, sitting there for a week, man, do I feel horrible now.
Yeah, but now you can understand why the lake cabin is such a luxury to have.
Yeah.
Blessed to have it.
Yeah, and I already booked a lake cabin for next year.
Ooh, did you get the early bird prices? Hop on it.
Nah, it's on a different lake, but it was on our drive back, so I went and stopped and drove by it.
I did a little scouting report.
And it is sweet.
Well, right on. Good for you. Vacation was good then?
Yeah, I can confidently say I think I had more beers than ounces of water over the last 8 days.
Yeah, that'll happen. At the lake cabin, you really get into the mix, and you have to remind yourself every once in a while to mix one in, one being a water. And it's hard to remember that when the sun is shining and the beers are cracking at 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of those things where it's you go right from a little bit of coffee in the morning right into beers. And
Quick stop at the bathroom, and you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, before and after coffee. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, it was awesome.
What kind of vessel did you have?
A pontoon.
Nice.
And it was a pretty nice pontoon too, so.
The pontoon is really the way to go. If you were to buy stock in pontoons, say, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, you're sitting pretty nice right now.
Oh, I found out something kind of cool. Actually, not cool, because there's a Twisted Tea at the bottom of the lake right now, but Twisted Teas don't float if you throw them into the water.
What's that all about?
No carbonation. Which, like, after I said it and watched one sink to the bottom,
that adds up.
Yeah, it makes sense, but at the time, you think that...
So you're saying that little bit of amount of air that is left in a can isn't enough to have the float the whole Twisted Tea? What kind of Twisted Tea was it?
It was, I think this was an original.
Okay, that's fine. If it was a half and half, I'd say go get it. But
yeah, and then I kept just bringing it up the whole time. Like, we'd be playing a game like 6 hours later, and I was like, you guys ever just stop and think what the Twisted Tea's feeling like at the bottom of the lake? Or that fish that just ripped it open?
A little drunk.
Imagine a guy's
little drunky poo
trolling for fish and pulls up a Twisted Tea.
Hey, that's not so bad. I mean, I actually heard of a gentleman who, right when Twisted Teas came out, he grabbed a sixer and kept them in his work fridge. And he would have one at lunch. And finally, one day, one of his coworkers was like, hey, man, do you have a drinking problem? He's like, what do you mean? He said, what you're drinking is alcoholic. And he's like, I had no idea.
I did cut my thumb off yesterday, but I just thought that was normal.
I was swerving all over the road as an ice road trucker, now that you mention it.
Twisted Teas don't taste like there's any alcohol in them, so they are pretty dangerous.
Twisted Teas look like you better get used. They taste like you better get used to insulin.
Yep.
Because there's just diabetes.
One time in college, it was pretty like close to right as when Twisted Tea came out, when they came in 18 packs of glass bottles.
Yeah.
And we had 2 big recliners and keg table in the middle of them, and one of my roommates is sitting there. He's like, these are the best thing I've ever had, and he's just slugging them. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed, Pat. I wake up next morning and he's fast asleep in the same spot. with 18 empty Twisted Teas sitting on the table.
Did he do the classic replace them in the case, or were they just
No,
assorted?
they were just sitting like on the table. So it looked even worse. And then he like stands up and his eyes are just bloodshot. He's like, "Can you give me a ride to class?"
It's like Forrest Gump drinking Dr. Peppers.
It was a Forrest Gump in the White House situation.
You gotta watch out for it.
Oh,
You start sucking down a nice beverage, whether that's Dr. Pepper at the White House or Twisted Teas on your college house recliner, you need to be aware of your surroundings.
you know how I have pretty terrible people skills?
You do?
I hit rock bottom at this brewery we went to. So there's this pretty cute girl that's taking orders, and I'm standing there and I'm doing the face I do when I people watch as I'm looking at the menu of it, just. And she's like, "What can I get you?" And I was like, I'll do the blonde ale." She's like, "Was that a question?" And I was like, "I don't know." So I did get the blonde ale. It was pretty good. Also sup.
Yeah, and how'd that go? How do you feel about that?
I would say 1 out of 10.
The experience was a 1 out of 10. How hot was she out of 10?
A solid 9.
Okay. Wisconsin 9?
She was Wisconsin 10. Small town Wisconsin 10.
Okay. So maybe down a couple pegs
Yep.
in a big market.
Yep.
That's fair.
But I was like,
You need the personality of the small towners
and
and the looks of a city gal.
but
Hard to find.
I literally took my beer and I went and sat outside where it was hot as shit because I was like the only seats open, and I was just sitting there like thinking about like what the fuck just happened.
I was about to say, you were probably replaying it in your head a few times.
I got that crewneck sweatshirt from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That looks nice. I mean, all I can see that it's yellow. I can't really see anything else, but
Yeah.
it looks nice. Matt did the classic, and we're going to talk about laziest things you can do in a little bit. Matt got it started with that. There is definitely hangers in that closet. All you have to do is open the door and hang it up. Matt decided to do the, nestle it in real nice on the knob of the closet door.
You know what the worst part about the whole situation is? Is the other half of the closet was open when I put it on there.
Yeah, that closet is emptying out.
Yeah, so I mean it's a tough look for me.
It's okay. But I think you in that yellow is going to really look nice.
It's either going to look really good or just like, Jesus, he looks like a retarded highlighter.
Or a candy corn.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't have any pants on, you would look like a candy corn.
I might need to Winnie the Pooh it.
Because like your
Dong,
white,
dong hanging out.
You got your white dong and legs, and then a yellow sweater, and then the orange hair up top. That's a candy corn.
Fuck, it is. Damn it.
I'm going to buy you some white pants and shoes.
I did have a pair of white pants and I shit them.
Like, do you think it happened because you were wearing white pants? Like, you almost jinxed yourself?
No, it had to do with me drinking 30.
Did you manifest it?
I drank 30 beers at golf, threw up in my front lawn, and simultaneously shit my pants.
Okay, so these are golf pants.
They were golf pants.
They were golf pants.
Those got put on a stick and thrown into a dumpster.
Were those the pants that you shit and then you threw into a dumpster and forgot your phone in them? So
No,
you had to crawl back in.
Those were pajama pants.
Oh.
God, I've shit my pants a lot for an adult. Like, for someone that's 30 years old, I think I shit my pants 3 times a year.
No.
3 times a month.
Okay. Now that's a more accurate number, I would say, but we got to get you a wine cork or something to figure this out.
I do have some adult diapers upstairs.
I did have I had quite an episode myself. I came across some fresh baked cookies.
Where at?
At my lake cabin. Yeah, my mother made
Were they still sitting on the pan?
No, but...
You gotta be careful, though, because the chocolate comes out molten, and if you grab the chocolate, it's just...
You will burn your mouth off. No, these were perfect, and then it was pretty hot. With the weather, we weren't really blasting the AC, just enjoying the sun and the nice weather. So it was humid and hot in there, so they stayed fresh and gooey well after they came out of the oven. Oh, and I was going to town. Now, they weren't regular size chocolate chip cookies. I would say, just imagine something a little bit smaller than the normal size homemade chocolate chip cookie, whatever that is.
You're talking like a racquetball, tennis ball?
Like the diameter of like a baseball. I'm looking at the baseballs up there, and I think like that.
So like the bottom of the horse chest piece.
Sure, if we really need a good reference point.
I do.
Maybe a little too big, actually.
Okay.
Well, what I was going to say, Matt, was I was eating these one bite. Just the whole cookie.
Were they one of those that...
I don't even chew. I just swallowed it whole.
You just shitting pancakes? But were they ones that were like, they shouldn't have been one bite, so you had to like kind of wedge your mouth?
I mean, yeah, there was a couple where like if you were trying to talk to me right after I put a cookie in my mouth,
it was glued to the roof of your mouth.
Oh man, and it was delicious. Yeah, I think I hammered about 7-8 of those. So you try to be healthy, you try to exercise, get yourself on a diet, and then you go eat 7 or 8 chocolate chip cookies. That is just a slap in your own face. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy the cookie moment. You can't take the cookies to the grave with you. One day I'm going to look back and be like, when I was 30 years old and I ate 7 or 8 cookies that one day.
And then your foot got amputated from diabetes not too long after.
It's because I drank 14 Twisted Teas on top of it, passed out on my college house recliner, had to go to class the next day, get a ride from my roommate. I've seen it 100 times.
I was gonna say there's restaurants that have, or not restaurants, but businesses that'll have like fresh baked cookies, and there's always those guys that are like, yeah, and they're like, when were these baked? And it's like, no matter what the answer is to that question, we all know that I'm still gonna eat 6 of them.
Are you referring to the one local bank that has a fucking oven in their lobby, and it's like, you're starting on the bottom of that bank if you're the cookie person. If they say, hey, we need you to be the teller, but every day at this time, you need to make sure the cookies are good to go.
Yeah. This guy has $100,000 to deposit. I'll be right with you. I need to make the homeless people chocolate chip cookies. So.
You just give them their deposit slip back, and there's just chocolate sauce all over it, melted chocolate chips. Here we go again.
That was like the other week when I had to go take some signatures for someone, and literally 5 minutes before I spilled an entire plate of nachos on myself.
Well, here we go again, talking about food. That's what we do.
I mean, we can get into drinks.
Well, and I guess, since we're on the food subject, I hammered 4 hot dogs for dinner on Saturday. And these just weren't any hot dogs. I said, I'm really going to embrace the hot dog culture. So we had sauerkraut on there. I don't even like sauerkraut. But I put it on there. Grilled onions. Okay, I took some honey barbecue potato chips, Matt. I crushed them up and did a little bit of that.
Ooh, this is what I did.
Ketchup, mustard, mayo.
Sounds like a pretty good dog.
Oh, it was delicious. That's why I had 4 of them.
So we were eating leftovers last night, and there was a meat bucket, which is essentially just whatever meat was cooked throughout the week, you throw into the bucket. And I grab a burger out, and we had some leftover 7-layer dip that was all mixed up. And I put some of that on the burger, crisped up the bun a little bit, kind of like a quesadilla burger. It was pretty good.
I'm getting a little bit aroused right now. All right, let's get into it. Episode 210. We got a good one.
Look, I'm hungover too, all right? We got to suck it up. We got to put one in the end zone.
Oh, wait. Was I not supposed to play that?
I don't... Nah, it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit?
I didn't know what it was. I just click random buttons.
We're 210 episodes in. Yeah.
So we have 64 buttons to choose from.
That is a lot.
It said Varsity Blues. I was like, that looks good.
Yeah. Could be anything.
That's my bad.
So everyone knows you go out on a boat, go out on a pontoon, and you got to bring a cooler with.
You should.
What goes into the perfect boat cooler?
We can't just have a gigantic cooler because it's a boat cooler. So there's limited size.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say 20 cans.
Okay, here's what you're going to want to do. First of all, it all depends on who's on the boat. Now, you have a growing family, as do I. So there's grandkids out there, So you got to take that into consideration. What kind of drinks you bring? And everybody wants to sip on something, whether it's a twisted tea for the diabetes or a Capri Sun. We're both probably have the same destination, type 2. Anyway, so that considered, I'm going to give my perfect cooler, and we're going to pretend as if it's a day out on the water with all adults.
Yep.
So
We'll say there's 5 or 6 on the pontoon.
What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get 4 packs, because then you can have better variety. It's not the most financially savvy move, but the 4-pack will help you out. Okay, so you get some seltzers, maybe get like a peach or a pineapple or a mango, whatever the kids like these days. You go with that. You got a lady friend with you. She's thirsty. She doesn't want to drink the beer. You got to have the seltzers, the vodka sodas. Okay, something out there like that. So I would say do about 12 of those, at least, depending on what you want to drink. If you want to drink some beer, we're going to throw some beers in there. What's really key here is the ice. So I like the big industrial ice packs that like you'll find, like these are medical grade.
Save
like
space.
They like transport like hearts for open heart surgery kind of ice.
Yep.
If you don't have that kind of ice, don't even waste your time. But those are just the gel packs, the frozen packs. So you got to line that strategically. It's going to get hot out. Okay, that sun's going to be beaten. And these coolers aren't as insulated as you think they are. It's all a hoax. Coolers are a scam, essentially, at the end of the day. So you got to really line that with ice. Then I would also maybe have a couple waters, just because the sun can really suck it out of you. You want to feel like crap, you go out on the water for a whole day. You don't do an ounce of sunscreen or water. You're going to be drunk and have a good time, but you're not going to feel very good.
Let me float this one by you. Pro tip. Don't put any waters in the cooler.
I'm talking like 2 tops.
But everyone that goes on the boat, when you're walking down to the boat, have 1 beer and 1 water. Because you can always have the water out and then throw it into the cooler after more beers are drank.
That's really thinking ahead, efficiency, and I like that.
I mean, I didn't do it at all this week, but...
And I mean, what baffles me is the cocktail drinkers, I guess. The people who need to have a cup. A giant old cup. This is my shitty old water bottle. But something like that, a tumbler of sorts. So if you're one of those people, you really got to take that into consideration. You're going to want a bag of ice, fresh ice, clean ice, okay? You don't want this ice sloshing around the whole cooler. People are putting their hands in there. It's sandy. You don't want that. You want a bag of ice. That's also going to act as a cooling system for the contents of said cooler. But then you're going to use the ice for your cocktails or your mixers or whatever have you, with the beverages. Then on top of that, I have a cooler, similar, Matt, but it's got all these little pockets in them. So you're going to want to bring a koozie for sure. Definitely bring a koozie. And then I have a little pocket for all my belongings. I like to keep the sunscreen with me. I got some straps on top where I tuck a towel in there. I like to bring my own towel just because it's an underrated thing. You're on leather seats on these boats and pontoons.
Hot.
And it's hot out. The skin sticks. You get the towel, you lay it down. You're going to be a lot more comfortable at the end of the day. You jump in the water. Hey, I just want to dry off just a little bit. Not completely, just a little bit. You got the towel there, and say you puke up all 14 twisted teas that you had in college in the recliner from earlier. You can wipe it up with the towel. So, and then maybe if you really want, depending on how much space you have, you could bring like sunflower seeds or like a pack of jerky is really good. Then you can offer that to other people. It's kind of like a peace offering. You don't want to come empty-handed.
I do like a bag of chips.
Yeah, but the thing about the chips is it's so fragile and it sucks up a lot of space. A lot of real estate goes into the bag of chips, and you got to consider that. Here's what you do. If you're on the river, especially around here, or somewhere where you can pull up to a bar, Lake Country in Minnesota, Zorba's, I don't know, you ever heard of it? Get that pizza to go. So that's just you get your cooler on there. It is jam-packed with maximum optimism drinks. I don't even know what I just said just now, but it sounded right, and it feels good. you make a separate trip up to the pizza joint to go pizza. Then you don't have to worry about the chips and the sunflower seeds and the beef jerky, okay? You get the pizza, you're going to have a good day. Whew. That was a lot.
Yeah.
You want a breakdown? You want an analytical breakdown of the perfect boat cooler? That's what you're going to get at No Brains, No Headache.
I mean, what prompted this thought is that I went out one morning and there was a cooler sitting out there, and I opened it, and all it was a little bit melted,
Severed head
of melted ice. I mean, that would track for my family. Yeah, someone decapitated the neighbor because they said.
I'm just thinking of the final scene in Dawn of the Dead where they find that boat floating. They open the cooler.
They get to the island. They're like, the dog runs up. They're like, this place is great. And then they just get mauled by zombies.
The things that go through this brain make no sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one of my uncles killed the neighbor because he said duct tape instead of duct tape. So,
oh, boy.
But I opened it up, and all it was a little bit melted ice with perfectly like labels out to me in sporadic directions, Busch Light and Diet Dr. Pepper.
Gator don't play no shit.
I was like, this is the perfect cooler.
The only thing that you could have added to that was what I had earlier, a Diet Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Those are good.
A Bajaniversary, if you will.
Yeah. Well, we can move on before I fucking eat my grappling hook.
The perfect boat cooler. We are full steam ahead into August, which is a little bit sad, but it's something worth talking about.
Yep.
Spreading awareness of the perfect boat cooler. Some people don't have the luxury that you and I do, Matt, of going to the lake and experiencing a perfect boat cooler.
I thought you were going to say we got to bring awareness to what time of the year it is.
Well, people could be listening. I'm going to talk to somebody in the future right now. It's December 2024, and you're listening to this right now. And if that's you, it's your lucky day. You didn't win anything, but you're listening to one of the best podcasts around. And that's a win right there. Matt won earlier by predicting what I was going to talk about, laziest things you could do. And it all starts with clothes. Okay, all you have to do is hang it up and put it in the closet. And I'm not blaming you. I'm lazy. I'm only human, just like you. But why are we so lazy? What do we do? I am actually currently experiencing one of those week or 2 week periods. It's a phase. I'll get over it. Where you do your laundry, just one load, and it dries. And then for every day after that, you are picking your clothes one by one out of the dryer. And I'm currently doing that. Do I have any shame? No. None.
I do something similar, but I also will just run it for another dryer cycle. And then I'm like, oh, in 60 minutes, I will definitely fold that laundry. And then it pans me 60 minutes later, and I'm just... and then I'll just wait a day. And then I'm like, you know what this needs? Another rinse cycle.
It wants to get out, wants to walk around. It wants some walking around money, and it wants to buy some shoes.
There's times where I'm not kidding when I say this, that I will dry my clothes that are completely dry
4 times.
I'm pushing double digits.
Really?
No, but like I would say like 5 times would be like the max.
See, when I'm motivated, I was
essentially,
good.
yeah, you were pretty much right on when you said 4.
Yeah. Okay. Glad we established that. See, I if I'm motivated, but like I don't really have anything I need to dress up for lately, maybe that tells our audience how big of a real piece of shit I am. I'm a real sack of shit sometimes. No, seriously though, we're having fun. But like I went to a few concerts a while back, and I wanted to like look decent and be comfortable. So I was actually putting a single piece of clothing in the dryer with like a damp washcloth to get wrinkles out.
Life hack, or throw a couple ice cubes in with it.
Sure. Wow. Didn't even think of that, but I was doing that, and then I just hit the complete opposite where before I came here, Matt, I took a shower and cleaned myself because that was necessary. And then I waddled my naked ass over to the dryer. And it's like, it's dark in there because the light doesn't shine in. I'm like, what? I can't see what's in here. And then thank God I got this t-shirt mailed to the studio. By the way, I've got some merch coming out down the road here, so stay tuned for that. This looks pretty clean, pretty crisp. Do you like black on white or white on black more? Say you're getting your curb done, and they got to put your house number on the curb. White or black, black on white. White on black, black on white.
I would say white on black, because black's a skinnier color.
Are you looking to thin yourself?
That's the gayest thing I've ever said.
This is pretty crisp. But the white t-shirt, as we talked about in prior episodes, you are subject to stains.
Yep.
If you're gonna, like how that commercial's like you don't wear the black without the blue. That's what you have to do. You don't wear the white without leaving with a Tide to Go pen.
I'm saying I probably have 70 t-shirts.
You're wearing all white. It's like phone, wallet, keys, Tide to Go pen.
Yeah, I always carry my coffee cup right here, and there's at least like
you set it on the belly on the
no
gut?
like I walk with it, but I don't pay attention, and it always splashes up. So there's like 6 of my t-shirts that have just a coffee stain right here.
You ever woke up in the middle of the night and went to the kitchen for some water, and you don't turn on any lights, and you're trying to walk back to bed, and you are just spilling water?
Or when
everywhere.
you're at your room, you're memorizing where everything in your room is.
You turn
off the light, and then immediately trip over a basket and just drill your bed.
Well, that's always when you stub your toe on the bed frame.
Dude, I was at this dive bar, and this guy, I think, did that with the bathroom.
What do you mean?
Well, so he literally, I'm in the bathroom washing my hands, and this guy yanks the door open, just shit-faced drunk. It was maybe 12:45 in the afternoon.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he goes to the urinal, or where he thought the urinal was, and just started pissing, and it was going right next to the urinal onto the ground.
There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't play drunk.
No, actually there is.
And I was like, I've only come to this bar that rhymes with bide lines at night, and now I understand why the bathroom always reeks like shit.
Yeah. The plumbing in that place doesn't get used properly.
Well, it's because none of the piss goes in the toilet.
That's what I'm saying. It's not used properly. But been a real lazy week.
That's okay.
Picking the clothes out of the dryer.
But one of these weeks we'll have a real go-get-'em week.
I mean, the fact of and the act of doing laundry, you could have a whole day where you didn't do anything. Maybe you just sat on the couch and, watched TV, played solitaire by yourself or something. You're just scrolling on your phone where you did something, but really nothing. But if all you did that day was washed, dried, and folded and put away all of your laundry, accomplished.
Laundry is one of the easiest things too, because the actual art of doing it is 5 minutes to fold your clothes and hang them up.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little while, but you can literally do anything while folding. You listen to music, watch TV, movies, stare out your window, drink 17 twisted teas. You can do whatever you want when you're folding your clothes.
You say 17 because one of them's at the bottom of the lake because you didn't realize that it doesn't float.
T's and P's to the alcoholic beverage on the bottom of a lake in Wisconsin.
Oh, I forgot to pull up the anchor one time on the pontoon, and let's just say there was what I'm going to describe as what appeared to be an entire tree connected to the anchor when I pulled it up.
Lazy weeks. What are some lazy things you do? I don't know. Let us know. What's next, Matt? Weird store combinations?
Oh, yeah. So I've come up with this thing that, and I don't know why, but a lot of towns have them. Why are sewing stores and vacuum stores always combined into one?
Is that a fact besides the town that we live in, Matt?
No, I was in Alexandria, Minnesota, and there was one today.
So the combination is vacuums and sewing?
Yeah, sewing supplies and vacuums. There's those two things, unless you're vacuuming up sewing supplies.
Maybe that's it.
or stitching a new vacuum bag.
I don't think you have to stitch a vacuum bag.
I'm grasping at straws here. Why?
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I'm trying to connect them. Trying to connect why these two things are together. Like in the town my brother lived in, Nebraska, for example, there was an oil change and shoe repair store.
Wow, I could agree with that.
It's like if
You drop off your shoes while you wait to get your oil changed.
you just step on a bunch of broken glass out back. I just don't understand why some stores need to be the way they are.
My logical answer is that a lot of and I don't know this for sure, but it's just my thought, a lot of the name brands of sewing machines and vacuums are the same.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Is that why?
It could be.
I mean, I don't know why else you would be like, you know what we need to do, honey? We need to open up a vacuum and sewing center.
It's like Riccar makes sewing machines too.
The car company?
Riccar. Rick's Cars.
Yeah, Rick's Cars.
And sewing machines.
This is a used auto lot and sewing machines.
Dude, I went by this used car lot on the side of a small town Minnesota highway, and this used car lot looked like literally the guy went and just grabbed every single car that was left over from a demolition derby and had prices marked on it.
Somebody might see value in it.
There was like
maybe that's what he was going for.
There was like a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee that had the two front tires there weren't any tires. It was just on cinder blocks.
Well, the cinder blocks is a nice touch.
Yeah, $800. You don't get the cinder blocks though.
Yeah, you leave the cinder blocks. Do not think about it. Maybe that's what he was going for. You know, if you know your market well enough, I think you'll be successful no matter what you do. Maybe his market was aspiring demolition derby contestants. And
maybe he runs a demolition derby, but you have to leave your car there.
I mean, that would work. That'd be a nice fix to the system, which actually plays into our next talking point. But I don't want to get there yet. I think another funny one would be like a toilet store connected to like a TCBY. Because they kind of go hand in hand. You know, halfway through your ice cream, your stomach starts rumbling a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, I need a new toilet.
I watched the movie Never Stop, Never Stopping when I got home from...
With Andy Samberg?
Yeah, and there's one moment in it where they're going through all the pranks they do, and someone comes in and he's like, did you take a shit at the Anne Frank house? It just shows him coming out of the bathroom. He's like, do not go in there.
Or another good prank is going to like a bookstore and getting stickers that say signed copy and then putting it on like Anne Frank's book and like dead people.
Dude, did you know that her dad published her diary in 1947? That's like 2 years after she died.
He had to recover quickly. Plus she was stacked. So he saw an opportunity and took it. Any other weird store combinations?
I want it on the record that it's Anne Frank's sister that was stacked.
Whatever. Who gives a shit? Anne Frank, Dan Frank. They're all the same to me.
And then I also started calling upper decking toilets Anne Frank in the toilets because you put it up in the attic.
Oh my. And you hide it for a while. And it makes for a good story when you get caught.
And you get put in an oven.
Okay.
What do you got?
You just had to go. I recently watched a good documentary on Netflix, and actually doing my research, I just found out moments ago that this was a 2019 documentary. So it's been out for a while. I thought this was like a new Netflix one, and boy, was I wrong. But it's called The Boy Band Con, The Lou Pearlman Story. Have you seen this, Matt?
No, I've seen clips, or I saw the trailer of it. Is it HBO, right?
Netflix.
Yeah, I was way off. Never
Can
mind.
I tell you about it?
Yeah, go for it. I'm not going to watch it.
That's my spoiler alert warning So you have been warned as listeners. If you've been waiting to watch this, once I saw it come out on Netflix, I was like, I gotta watch it. It's a 3-part series, about 45 minutes each. So definitely bingeable in an evening or afternoon or morning or whatever you want to watch it. Middle of the night. That's what I do. Oh, I have to work in the morning. You know what I should do? I should get really into a docuseries.
From 2 to 5, I'll watch a docuseries, and then I'll fall asleep and be 28 hours
My
late.
alarm will be set for 7 a.m., and I will fall asleep at 6:45.
I'll go run the dryer for another cycle.
Crush a couple twisted teas. But so this is about a gentleman named Lou Pearlman, who was a businessman who's born in New York, made his way down to Florida, the Orlando area. And pretty much what this guy did was he had all sorts of businesses. It was called Transcontinental. And his first one was like airlines.
Kind of looks like...
he looks like a blimp, yes.
He looks like the guy, why am I blanking on his name, that plays in The Whale.
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, he looks like Brendan Fraser in The Whale.
So yeah, he had Transcontinental. He got into blimps. Apparently that was
there's only like 13 blimps left in the world.
Yeah, this is when they were really popular. He ordered a bunch from Germany, and then did a bunch of advertising because that was hot in like the 80s.
Before we scroll down to his cause of death, what do you think it is?
Well, Matt, I watched the thing.
It said.
Do you want to guess?
Diabetes related.
Yeah, I mean, he had heart issues in prison, and then they did a open heart surgery, and then he didn't.
Well, that's kind of a fun fact. If his first cousin's Art Garfunkel.
Yep. So his first cousin is Art Garfunkel, I believe.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, the Simon. He's the Garfunkel of Simon and Garfunkel. So yeah, this guy's just got all sorts of shit going on. He did blimps early, but then all of a sudden he was leasing and renting private jets to like rock and roll bands and big pop stars. So he's like, well, I'm in the wrong business. So he decides to essentially, and he's, like we said, he's just a large man who doesn't have much background in entertainment or dancing or singing for that matter. And he decided that he's going to make some pop bands. So he's actually the man behind the Backstreet Boys. Backstreet Boys started in 1993. Obviously, they're pop sensations. That was the year I was born. So I definitely remember Backstreet Boys when we were younger. Do you remember at McDonald's, they had the little, like the mini Walkman, where it came with like a little chip, and you'd put the chip in, and it played like one song?
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, I remember I had a Backstreet Boys one, and it was like Bye Bye Bye, or wait, is that theirs?
No, that's what Nick Carter said at Aaron Carter's funeral.
Nice. Aaron Carter's dead?
Yep.
T's and P's. Backstreet Boys, vocal group of Nick Carter, Howie, Duro, AJ McLean, and then cousins Brian Luttrell and Kevin Richardson. Oh yeah, they were born in Orlando, or started in Orlando, Florida in 1993. The funny thing actually is, what's interesting about the documentary is they actually were huge in Europe and especially Germany. So these dudes spent a whole year, by the sounds of it, they spent like a year like practicing and training and rehearsing, and then like another year in Germany. And they were just huge sensations in Germany. So they got popular over there, signed a record deal with BMG, I believe is what it's called, out of Germany. Yeah, there it is. And so they were huge.
I will say Backstreet Boys is usually what I'll go to as my karaoke song, but every time I sing karaoke, I am just blitzed. And so I'll be like, you are...
Just because I'm so bad at telling these songs apart, like who's who, Backstreet Boys songs include Everybody. Everybody. Is YouTube going to get mad at us for singing?
I hope so.
As Long As You Love Me, Shape of My Heart, I Want It That Way.
Quit playing games with my heart.
Sure.
They had a big song
a ton.
in like 2005 or something, early 2000s. I thought they had like a resurgence.
This one's like Ice. I don't know. This one says 05. Anyway, so this Lou Pearlman gentleman, he's like basically the sixth member of the band, and he's financing them and pretty much just recruited these guys when they were young. A lot of these guys were doing things like Mickey Mouse Club or working at Disney or just trying to do really anything to get their talents out there. So Lou is actually a pretty smart guy. He says, you know what? Backstreet Boys is blowing up. Eventually, their competition is going to come out. He had a saying where, you know, if you have a company such as successful as Coca-Cola, eventually somebody's going to come along with a Pepsi. So he made his own Pepsi. 2 years later, in 1995, he starts the group NSYNC. So this dude just makes his own competition.
Do they talk about how there was a guy in NSYNC that like backed out, so that's why Lance Bass is in it?
They briefly mention like how all these guys came together, and then they don't say that exactly. I didn't know that, but Lance Bass is like, because it started with those four. They don't mention that somebody else backed out or whatever. But then yeah, the last person they mention is Lance Bass. So yeah, NSYNC 95 group, once again, Orlando, Florida. It's Justin Timberlake, JC, however you say his last name, Lance Bass, Joey Fatone, Chris Kirkpatrick.
And the band was named for every one of the original members' last letter of their first name.
Interesting. Where's the S?
That's the guy that Lance Bass took his spot.
Where's the Y? Joey. Where's the N? Justin? There's two N's.
Yeah, there's a guy that...
Well, then why is he the Y? Matt, do you realize what you just said? What does NSYNC stand for?
Last letter of each of them.
Justin, Chris, Joey, Jason, and JC.
Yep.
Gotcha. So Jason must have been the guy who backed out.
Yep.
Interesting. So this Lou Pearlman gentleman now makes NSYNC, and it's like a hush-hush project where once again he's just like funding these guys to rehearse and go to music classes and dance classes, and slowly kind of build up the brand. And then, yeah, he rolls out NSYNC, and Backstreet Boys are kind of like, what the fuck? But I'm looking at this, I'm watching this docuseries, I'm like, wow, that's such a smart move, especially knowing what they are today. This dude created Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Regardless of how it all ended out, I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The guy sounds like he sucks, though.
Yeah, and so... yeah, he had these two bands together, and then they're working their ass off. They're huge sensations, big over in Europe, come over to America, do well, selling places out. And one of them in the docuseries talks about it's their first payday. So they all come to the office, and Lou's like, all right, I'm going to pay you, because at this point they just had everything paid for, essentially, but they weren't necessarily making income on top of that. And one of the dudes says that he gets a check, and it's for $10,000. Now, $10,000 in one lump sum in one moment that's a lot. I would say most people would probably be like, "Oh, that's a lot of money." But then they had the realization. One of the guys says, "Well, how much did you make at whatever fast food joint somebody worked at before last year?" And they're like, "Oh shit, $10,000 isn't that much money, considering how much work they put in." I mean, when you have a brand that's global like that, it's a lot of money. I think the entertainment industry, especially, so this was in the early to mid to later 90s, I guess. I mean, still going to this day, but I feel like a lot of entertainers back in the day, let's just say meaning pre-2000, let's say, I think a lot of people got the raw end of the deal. Like you hear about Elvis and his deal. And it's just like, wow, that's brutal.
Managers were supposed to make 10%, and I feel like managers usually probably made about, well, in this case, 99.9%.
Like 200%. They're making twice as much as the other.
They paid him from another company.
Well, that's pretty much what he did, Matt.
Yeah, that's kind of insane that one guy was behind arguably the two biggest boy bands.
Oh, he had
ever.
Dude, he had more. I don't recognize a lot of them. Let's see if I can hopefully pull up all of the bands he was responsible for. It's a lot. It's okay. O-Town, which is another Orlando-based crew. LFO.
I've heard of them.
I can't remember who's there. The Natural or Naturals or Natural. I don't know, some guys in the documentary from Natural. Let's see. He also made the crew. I didn't know this. Britney Spears was actually in like a crew of 5 women who were making like a girl pop band. And so Britney Spears was in that one. She eventually dropped out and did her own thing.
What was their name?
I don't know. Did you pull? I didn't know.
White Destiny's Child.
I'm really curious. He had so many that.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I didn't recognize any other than LFO.
Okay, yeah. InSync, LFO, Backstreet Boys, Us 5, O-Town, Solid Harmony.
O-Town would also be a great porn title.
Yeah, so I mean, he discovered all these and like did make the initial investment, but turns out, Matt, that a lot of people just kind of turned a blind eye, turned the cheek, if you will, because he presented himself as a wealthy, rich man, which he was, and he was very smart and a hard worker, I'm sure. But all of that gets taken away when it's fraud. So he was just running a giant Ponzi scheme for 30 years.
It's giving me vibes of the guy that bought the Islanders with zero money.
Yeah, pretty much.
John Spano.
So this one, it was implicated that he was in a $300 million Ponzi scheme, but he was also in $200 million bank fraud scheme.
Nice. Getting up $500 million. I'm sure they really like that.
Yeah, so he has paid off like $10 million of that. He died in 2016 of cardiac arrest while in prison. He was serving a 25-year sentence. Apparently,
I will say,
he was just a compulsive liar.
Yeah, the name of the documentary is awesome.
Yeah, check it out. It's on
Dirty Pop.
Netflix. Okay. This guy says they only earned about $12,000 a piece over 4 years.
Otherwise known as what people in Guatemala make.
Yeah. So the funny part is, so the Backstreet Boys in InSync, they sue him, and so then obviously they just need to settle. So they settled for $64 million. So then Lou was also getting the $64 million from them on top of all of his other things with investors. And then it makes sense because everybody in the documentary, the docuseries, they talk about, see right here, if Backstreet ends up being a dominant brand like Coke, someone is going to come along and create a Pepsi. We might as well beat them to it. Created InSync.
Well, if anyone could pay their pound of flesh, it's Lou Pearlman because he's fat as shit.
Yeah, so they had
dead.
Oh yeah, like I said, O-Town. He discovered Aaron Carter, apparently R.I.P. Natural, which I didn't know. Brooke Hogan, Hulk's daughter. Take 5.
The candy bar?
Innocence.
He ate a bunch of those.
LFO. B44. I feel like there's more. But anyway. Yeah, he was involved in all of those. And yeah, he has not paid. He took people's retirements, pensions, life savings. None of them are going to get it back. Yeah, and after 30 years, it finally caught up to him because they tell about the whole blimp thing. Well, he had like 4 or 5 blimps they all crashed and wrecked, all within like a year. He was collecting insurance off of all of them. Insurance fraud.
Maybe that's what happened with the Hindenburg, too.
Well, I think that's what propelled... Oh, yeah, nice one. I think that's what propelled, his initial investment and startup into the entertainment industry. But then all the guys talk about how everywhere they went, it'd be somebody's birthday or they'd be at a restaurant or a mall or something. He would always have them like sing a cappella and like sing for people. Well, it was all investors. So when you bring in an international boy band, no matter how fraudulent you are, and then you present them like he was a master forger. Like he was like Frank Abagnale, from
Catch Me If You Can.
Similar to that, where he just like forged a bunch of documents, and they were showing some in the docuseries. They look pretty legit. I don't know about you, like we get our monthly bank statements for the business, and obviously you get personal ones, or I get a few for all my businesses. And I mean, I keep track of them and hold on to them, But I'd usually just do a quick glance, like, okay, it looks like a document to me. Because you start putting in a bunch of numbers and net earnings, retained earnings, income tax, all these different, depreciation. Accounting is a difficult skill.
And back then, forging things, I feel like would be a lot harder because you don't have like, what am I thinking of? Like Adobe, where you can just overlay something and create a logo,
or like two-way authentication, and stuff like that. Well, yeah, what I heard and what it looked like, he was just like an amazing artist because he could make seals and logos. Like he could just freehand draw them.
Yeah,
which is amazing. So yeah, he would have these big Bank of America statements, and he would show people, and he would give people, when you invest something. Nowadays, it's a lot of it is digital, so that helps. But he would give them their packet or their certification that says, "Oh, you invested in this," and then obviously he never paid anybody back. Well, he paid back the 10 million of the 500 million. So yeah, not a whole lot, less than, it's like 1%.
So we like to call in the
like
business
2%.
Not good.
And yeah, he just did a bunch of crazy shit and just wild. I love pop culture documentaries like this. So if you haven't seen it but saw it on Netflix, been thinking about watching it, you could still watch it. I didn't really ruin it that much for you. I mean, this has been out for 5 years now, and all this happened about 20 years ago, so don't feel too bad with the spoiler. I did do the spoiler alert. I did that. Okay, when you hear that on the show, kind of get ready, buckle in a little bit. But really impressive to see what he did. He was actually on the run. His FBI started getting tipped off.
I don't think he could run very fast.
No, so he was in Indonesia.
They found him because he takes up an entire zip code.
Yeah, and he was with one of the lead singers from Natural because they ended up going into business together and were doing like alternative bands. And he forged a Bank of America like document or loan application essentially and got $1 million. Like it worked. They got $1 million wired to him from Bank of America because of his ability to produce fraudulent bank statements. Matt, maybe you know more about banking than I. I usually just go to the bank to like cash a check and grab a sucker and like say hi to my buddy who works there. Nowadays, can you still like fraudulently like make a statement, or how does that work?
People do, but
they get caught.
Yeah, and people aren't as dumb because what they'll do is they'll call to confirm, and the bank will
like if you say you're a Bank of Matt and I'm Lou Pearlman, okay, modern day.
Yeah.
And I want $1 million, I would say, hey, I have I have $2 million in this bank account, and here's like whatever. They would call the bank to confirm that.
What they would do, so if you want to get $1 million and you show, hey, here's my bank statement, what they'll do is they'll find that bank's information from a third party, and they'll call that, and then that's going to show that.
Just so it's like a neutral party that doesn't have.
They're not going to be like, oh, it says on this sheet, call this number, and it'll be like.
Now, how do loans work? Isn't there some sort of repayment plan or something in there that says, hey, at a certain point, I'll pay this back? How does that work?
There's so many safe barriers in it. Like I would describe it like filtering water. Like if you have like coal and then sand and then goes through this, that's kind of what it is. Because if it gets through all of them, then it means that every single person didn't do their job. And that just doesn't
like the fraud part is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. So
okay. No, I'm saying of like, say it is a legitimate loan and it's a legit business idea or practice or whatever. You got to repay this shit.
Yeah, they that's why they tie it to like real estate or
assets,
some of your holdings. Yeah.
Gotcha. So say you have $500 in the bank account. What do you think the biggest loan is you could get? I mean, say you have a plan and it's a decent plan, but
not really much.
Will they match your $500 that you have in your bank account?
Yeah.
And at that point, do you really need to go to a financial institution?
No.
How many? I love how we're getting into it.
If you had a proven track record of like, hey, I made this and I sold this business,
Yeah.
And this is what I have, and I sold this business, and now I have this much.
Like
in the
a Steve
bank.
Jobs could probably walk in with $500 and be like, okay, I just need a little bit of cushion here.
Or if like Lou Pearlman was like, hey, I just had Backstreet Boys who made this much money, and I'm starting another one. Do you want to give me money? And
so that's good collateral. Is a global brand and 5 dudes who can sing their hearts out.
A proven track record.
All good looking too.
Yeah.
I love how we are getting into a financial discussion.
I know a lot about boy bands, actually, come to think of it.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say out of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, who I think is the best looking, and this is just a heterosexual man just appreciating another man's beauty. You know who I'm going with? Kevin Richardson. He's got the cheekbones. And when he was in their heyday,
I will say outside of JT.
Oh well, yeah, JT
and Lance Bass, he aged probably the best out of all of them.
Oh, Lance Bass doesn't have a wrinkle.
Yeah, JC too, but like Chris and Joey, like look at Joey up in that picture right above.
Which one?
The one right there. That's Joey.
Oh yeah, he's got like John Travolta neck issues going on. Like his neck kind of disappeared over the years.
Lance Bass looks younger somehow.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Chris Kirkpatrick, he's had a couple domestic light beers.
Oh yeah,
a couple chicken wings.
He was doing fine until Twisted Tea came out.
But how many times, for the financial part of things, like when you start a business or have an idea or whatever venture you're going with, usually that first round of investing is the friends and family.
Yeah, you're gonna need that before you get any sort of financial institution. Because
okay, so let me run through that. Just say
the financial institution will then borrow against your friends and family that are invested.
Okay, so that's where you're playing right into my question. So say you raised $200K just between your friends and family, and that was your plan of get started. Okay, but now to get to the next phase, I need another $200,000, and say that bank. Say it just gets awarded or however much. How many times can you go back and be like, okay, this is phase 18. I just need $400 million. And this is the last time.
If the business is successful, you can go back as much as you want.
I'm talking about like startups who are just burning through cash. How many times can you...
Startups that are burning...
Isn't that at what point, what I'm asking is, at what point is that a Ponzi scheme like this guy? You started with the friends and family, then you went to Bank A, then you went to Bank B, then you went to Germany, then you went to Italy, and now you're just...
Startups that burn through cash don't use banks. They use VCs.
Venture capitalists.
Yes.
What's the difference from a venture capitalist and a bank?
Get stake in the company.
So then they have say of how you run that bitch?
No, they'll get like 5 to 10% and one seat on the board, but you'll have a 5-person board made up of your people. So they don't get that much say, but they can use
they have a closer grip on what's going on.
And they have interest in it so that they use their interest that they have at their fund, like business managers and stuff, to help you out.
So they're more hands-on and they want to see how things are going. Whereas other times, like with Lou Pearlman, a lot of people are probably just like, I don't know, whatever.
A VC fund will get you off the ground with like an acorn of an idea. Bank, you need to take in an entire tree and be like, all right, here's what
logging. So you're saying get into logging,
so if
lumber industry. Yeah, it's tough right now.
It's hot right now.
Yeah, because all the trees are on fire, dude.
Dude, when I was at the lake, we essentially just go drive around the lake.
What else do you do?
And one tree fell into the water, and I was like, "Oh, we're down another one." But apparently, people at this lake
lost a lot of good men out there.
Can't cut down their trees, so people are just going around poisoning their trees.
I tried this one chili and it set my mouth on fire, and I had to drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm just so curious about the finances of Ponzi schemes, and I love how every time we're like, man, I don't have much this week, we're going along. And
we did talk about boy bands for like 20 minutes.
Well, that's why I brought it up. It's so easy to talk about. Everybody can relate.
Yeah, well, this next one kind of sucks.
Are we done with the boy band?
Yeah.
Okay, the boy band con, the Lou Pearlman story. It's on Netflix. Check it out.
I thought it was called Dirty Pop.
Oh, wait. Well, I don't know, dude. Wait, maybe am I mixing this up?
Was there 2?
Maybe that was a different one.
That's Dirty Poop. That's my favorite porn website.
When was this shit on? When was it? The thing. Okay, bad. That's my bad. Dirty Pop, the boy band scam, is a 2024 docuseries.
Is that what you watched?
Sorry, yeah, I watched. This is no brains, no headache.
We talked about it for like a half hour.
It's fine. It's all the same story, man. Okay, Dirty Pop, the boy band scam is on Netflix.
Dude, okay.
They also have the boy band. Can you understand how I got fucked up?
Go back to that picture, though. Does he not look like Haru in Beverly Hills Ninja?
Okay, I was going to say Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Check it out. It's on Netflix. Whatever the boy band one is on Netflix, that's what I watch. Sorry. Sorry for the mix-up. Holy cow.
It's called a soup kitchen.
You remember how I was trying to pitch adult camps like 2 years ago on this podcast? Like, basically, you just go stay at a resort.
Yeah, like couples retreat.
Yeah, but kind of like that. Well, I found this thing on targeted ads or something that there in Massachusetts, there's a comedy camp comedy festival that's just at a resort that has comedians every night, and you just rent like cabins or...
Now that sounds like a scheme where they're just making you pay as a poor comedian for like 5 minutes of stage time.
No, you don't pay. They have comedians already coming in, but like it's like a festival kind of. But
so it's just a comedy festival. This is not a camp. It's just called that.
Yeah, it's at like a camp. It's like on a lake, and they have like hikes and shit. But I think that this could turn into an orgy pretty quick of the way they rent out their cabins.
Dude, an orgy is just...
the cheapest ticket, which is usually what people buy, is all-inclusive mixed gender cabin.
An orgy is literally like 3 people away at any moment. So like if me and you had a lovely lady in here right now, we're getting closer to an orgy.
I mean, circumstantial evidence would...
And that wouldn't be the first time some food... Never mind.
Yeah.
What about the studio?
But you know that if they're paying for, you can go in an all-female or an all-male cabin. If you're choosing the mixed gender cabin and you're going by yourself, you're going there for one reason and one reason only.
You're going to want to get the industrial jug of lube before you go. Maybe pack a few condoms.
And they have an all-weekend. You can buy like an all-weekend open bar for $95.
You had right away. I wasn't very interested. Now that you just said that, I'm a little more interested. $95?
I
unlimited?
I initially thought that was, but then they say during designated times.
Honestly, like our local watering hole should just always have that as an option. Like, okay, do you want to buy drink by drink, or do you just want to spend the $95 now that you're gonna spend?
Let me know when I hit the number, then I'll leave.
No, just unlimited then.
Yeah.
If I would do that, as bad as that sounds, if the local watering hole, the place you like to go, was just like, you can pay drink by drink and food by food, or here's the unlimited package.
There's bars that do like all you can drink.
Matt, what's that smell? It smells like gas, doesn't it? Are you smelling that?
Kinda.
I'm not saying I don't want to interrupt the podcast, but that smells like a gas of sorts, like propane, doesn't it? Dude, what's going on?
Yeah, we can wrap this up pretty soon before I pass out. But yeah, if you want to go to camp comedy, it's in Massachusetts, and it doesn't really sound that fun. Also, it already passed, so.
Quick question. Happy trails to the asterisk on texting, now that you can edit your text?
Oh, yeah. Happy trails.
Happy trails to the asterisk. Asterisk? That's one of those words. If I keep saying it, I'm gonna convince myself it's not an actual word. Happy trails to the asterisk. All right. Any new jokes, Matt? I got a couple.
What
else you got?
I went to Rib Fest one time in Bismarck, and they had a live radio interviewing people. And I don't know if you know this about Rib Fest. It brings out the worst of America. And they grab this guy and they say, "Hey, what do you think of Rib Fest?" And on live radio, he said, "Fucking good cheesecake."
So he dropped an F-bomb and then didn't even talk about the barbecue?
Nope.
I mean, cheesecake is pretty good.
Yeah. And also, Rib Fest is a total fuck fest.
Let's see here. Jokes. Oh, dating advice. These are 3 signs that a chick likes you. 1 is eye contact. It's usually important. 2, she's asking you questions and inquiring about your life. And 3, she has sex with you. So that's usually a good indicator that they like you.
I don't really want to get married per se, but I think I might need a spouse so that someone can stop me from eating hot dogs in bed and pooping my pants.
A hot dog in bed sounds pretty awesome. It's hard to explain do not disturb to my parents. I said my phone isn't off. It just means I'm in a meeting or sleeping or not wanting to be disturbed. I wish I had do not disturb as a child. I actually went to a Disturbed concert. Get up, come on down with the sickness. Yeah, I'm mentally ill. I haven't read these since I wrote them.
These are all ones that I drunkenly wrote over the past week. I was the drunkest person at a wedding one time. Actually, it's every wedding I go to. And I got cut off at the bar before the speeches even happened. And the reason I was cut off at the bar is because I fell asleep mid-drink order. The next day, I get to the concierge van to go to the airport, and I have an industrial bag of Skittles that's sitting on the seat. And the first turn, it starts to fall, and all I hear is about 2,000 Skittles slowly seep onto this guy's floor, and him just stare at me, and me not even attempt to grab the bag.
So I will admit, I wrote this joke, and then I saw like something on the internet, which is pretty much the same joke, but Kamala Harris is going to be the Democratic nominee, it appears. And I heard she said, "Whose dick do I have to suck to be president?" And Michelle Obama was like, "Get over here."
Michael Obama?
Yeah.
Trump on his Truth Social tweeted out, or whatever they do on that, they truthed it, and he said something along the lines of, because the Venezuelan president lost the election and then just claimed he won, and Trump called him a dictator, and someone posted the picture of him speaking in front of the White House after he lost the election claiming he won.
Yeah, it's a tight spot. It never fails when you leave your girlfriend's house that you have to fart. Like you won't even have any gas, but you still let one rip right after you go. And sometimes it's that like long, high-pitched fart. It's like, was that a fart or a bottle rocket?
My asshole asked a question, and the answer is yes, I did poop my pants.
Getting high can take care of a lot of things. One time I had to take a shit, then I just got high, and I didn't have to shit anymore. I did have to clean my shorts, however.
Dude, get this. So my uncle lives in Iowa, and in early 2000 or late 2001, 2 planes hit the World Trade Center. I'm just kidding, but the town did get taken over by cats, and it took them like 2 weeks to clean them all up and take them out to farms. They killed all the cats.
So one time I met a chick that was so hot that I asked her to be my mistress, and I wasn't even seeing anyone. When you get extra innings, it's free baseball. When you get overtime, it's free football. And when I wake up still drunk, those are rollover minutes. It's all part of the family plan. It may tear apart your family, but those are free minutes. Oh, watching cops pull someone over is the ultimate feeling. That's just a statement. Do you ever do that when you pass a cop and you like watch them as far as you can go, or if you sense that they're gonna pull someone over, you're like, light them up, and then they do, and you're like cheering and cheersing your beer with your passenger. You're pulling their bag of Coke out of your butthole. It's just like, thank God.
Thank God I did all that blow. Yeah, let's get out of here. Make sure to follow the podcast on all social media platforms by searching No Brains, No Headache. You can also leave us a review on Apple or a rating on Spotify. And you can catch us next week for episode 211.
Yeah, come check out our comedy shows as well. September 28th, that's a Saturday at Dakota Stage Theater. Probably going to officially announce that soon, but you, our loyal listeners, you get the exclusive access. So that's Saturday, September 28th, Dakota Stage Theater. Matt and myself will be putting on a No Brains, No Headache production with a few more comedians joining us. And then we also will be at Laughing Sun Brewery. Been there for a few shows before, so we're going back. That's Thursday, October 17th. More details coming on for that. If you're in the area, want to check out some free comedy shows, come to Open Mic Night. It is either at Jimmy V's on Main Street or Gideon's Brewing right over on 5th Street. They're literally right around the corner from each other. So if you come check it out and we're not there on Wednesday at 8, go to the other place because we will be there. Come support local comedy here in Bismarck, North Dakota as we continue to build the new art form that apparently hasn't been around here for a while. So that's what we're up to. And like Matt said, next up we have episode 211. Love you guys.
It's no bong. It's for my schlong.